I still remember the morning. I found the envelope taped to my front door, the one that would start a war between me and the Maplewood Hills Homeowners Association. The letter had the HOA's official seal and, in bold at the top, the words, "Notice of Violation." My stomach dropped. I tore it open right there on the porch. "Dear Mr. Lawson," it began, in that cold, bureaucratic tone only HOAs seem to master. "It has come to our attention that you have installed solar panels on your roof without prior written approval from the Architectural Review Committee. This constitutes a violation of Section 8.3 of the Maplewood Hills Covenants." It continued for 3 more paragraphs, ordering me to cease operation and remove the unauthorized panels within 14 days. I'd just finished installing those panels 2 weeks earlier. It was the culmination of 6 months of research, permits, and a small fortune in savings. The idea of taking them down felt like tearing the heart out of my home. I wasn't trying to make a statement. I just wanted lower energy bills and to do my part for the planet. But apparently, the HOA didn't share my enthusiasm for renewable energy. That evening, I attended the HOA board meeting. The room was filled with my neighbors, most of them familiar faces from block parties and morning dog walks. At the front sat the board, 5 people who seemed to take joy in quoting bylaws. When I asked why solar panels weren't allowed, the president, Mr. Whitaker, adjusted his glasses and said, "They don't fit the neighborhood's aesthetic." Aesthetic? I repeated, almost laughing. "They're flat panels on the roof. You can't even see them from the street." "The rule applies to all visible modifications," he replied curtly. "We can't make exceptions." I left the meeting furious but determined. The sun had powered life on Earth for billions of years. And now some self-appointed committee thought they could regulate it. That night, I sat at my computer, digging through the bylaws. Buried deep in the legal jargon, I found a loophole. A clause allowing eco-friendly home improvements if they met local energy codes and were not explicitly prohibited by state law. That was my opening. I began researching state solar rights laws. And what I found made my blood boil, and my resolve harden. The HOA wasn't just wrong. They were acting illegally. I decided then and there that I wouldn't remove a single panel. If anything, I'd add more. The next few weeks turned into a battle of letters, citations, and late-night research sessions. The HOA sent final warning notices. I sent them copies of state statutes protecting homeowners' rights to install renewable energy systems. When they fined me $250 for noncompliance, I paid it, but attached a copy of a legal case from a nearby county where the homeowner had won against a similar HOA ban. By the 3rd letter, I knew they were rattled. Still, Mr. Whitaker wasn't backing down. He claimed that while state law allowed solar panels, HOAs could still regulate placement and design. I knew what that meant. They wanted me to give up through bureaucracy. I contacted a local energy attorney, who confirmed my suspicion the HOA had overstepped. "They can't ban you outright," she said, tapping a section of the law. "If they push this, you could sue and win." Lawsuit. The words sounded heavy. I wasn't the suing type, but the HOA had left me no choice. I filed a formal complaint with the state's Energy Commission, citing Maplewood Hills' violation of the Solar Rights Act. Word spread fast. My neighbors started asking questions, not about the lawsuit, but about the panels. How much are you saving? Do they really work on cloudy days? Can they power the whole house? I explained everything I'd learned: net metering, efficiency rates, even battery backups. Suddenly, solar energy became the hottest topic on our block. A few weeks later, the HOA received an official notice from the state. They were under investigation for unlawful restriction of solar energy systems. Whitaker looked like he'd swallowed a lemon when I saw him at the next meeting. But I wasn't celebrating yet. Legal processes move slowly, and the HOA doubled down, hiring their own lawyer and claiming my panels Degraded property values, I countered, with evidence showing homes with solar panels often sold for more. Meanwhile, my system started generating excess power, more than I used. My utility bill dropped to zero. I started feeding electricity back to the grid, earning credits from the power company. By the time the first ruling came in, favoring me, my house wasn't just energy neutral. It was energy positive. I was officially selling power. That victory felt sweet, but it was only the beginning. What started as a personal project was about to transform the entire neighborhood, when the state ruling forced the HOA to rescind their solar ban. Word spread across Maplewood Hills like wildfire. The same neighbors who'd once whispered about my illegal panels were now asking for installer recommendations. Even the skeptical Mrs. Carlson from down the street, who once complained that my panels looked like spaceship parts, wanted a quote for her roof. I became the de facto solar ambassador of the neighborhood. Every evening, someone would knock on my door, asking about installation costs, battery options, or whether panels worked during winter. I didn't mind, I loved sharing what I'd learned. A few months later, the first wave of installations began. At least 7 homes added solar arrays. The HOA couldn't stop it now. In fact, they had to revise their bylaws to comply with the state's renewable energy protections. Ironically, they even asked me to help draft the new solar guidelines. It was poetic justice. The man they tried to fine into submission was now shaping policy. Then came the storm, a massive summer blackout that hit our entire county. Lightning struck a power substation, and thousands of homes went dark. But not ours. Thanks to my battery storage system and inverter setup, my house remained fully powered. The air conditioning hummed, lights stayed on, and my refrigerator didn't skip a beat. As night fell, I noticed silhouettes outside. My neighbors stood on their porches, peering toward my glowing windows. I went out and waved them over. "Plug in your extension cords," I said. "I've got power to spare." Within an hour, half the cul-de-sac was lit again. We ran charging stations, kept freezers cold, even brewed coffee for everyone. Kids watched cartoons in my living room while parents recharged phones and flashlights. That night, something shifted. The HOA, for all its rules and rigidity, saw firsthand what solar energy could do, not as an eyesore, but as a lifeline. Mr. Whitaker himself showed up, flashlight in hand, looking more humbled than I'd ever seen him. "I have to admit," he said quietly, "this is impressive." I smiled. "The sun doesn't need permission slips, Mr. Whitaker." He chuckled despite himself. And just like that, the wall between us, the one made of bylaws and pride, started to crack. Months passed, and the transformation of Maplewood Hills became something no one could have predicted. Solar panels now glimmered on nearly every rooftop. The HOA, once the enemy of progress, rebranded itself as an eco-conscious community association, proudly advertising our neighborhood as 100% solar-friendly. It didn't stop there. With my system producing more energy than I could use, I upgraded my batteries and installed a small-scale microgrid. This allowed neighboring homes to connect during emergencies or high-demand periods. It started as a backup plan, but soon, it became a shared power network. On sunny days, we collectively produced so much electricity that the local utility began crediting the entire neighborhood. Our block turned into a model of renewable efficiency, even featured in the local paper. From HOA conflict to solar community, one neighborhood's green revolution. I was invited to speak at town meetings, helping other HOAs draft solar-friendly bylaws. Some of the same people who once called me a troublemaker now called me a pioneer. The irony wasn't lost on me. Mr. Whitaker eventually stepped down as HOA president, but not before shaking my hand. "You proved something important," he said. "That progress doesn't destroy tradition, it redefines it." Under the new leadership, Maplewood Hills invested in community solar lights, electric vehicle charging stations, and a shared battery hub for emergencies. Our power bills were nearly non-existent, and property values soared. Standing on my porch one evening, I watched the sunset reflect off rows of solar panels, each one quietly drinking in the same light that had started our feud. I thought about that first letter, the one that had told me to tear everything down. And I couldn't help but smile. Now, when people ask about the fight, I tell them this: I didn't just win against the HOA. We all did. Because in the end, sunlight doesn't belong to any committee or rulebook, it belongs to everyone. And in Maplewood Hills, we finally learned to share it.